Hello and welcome. I'm Becky with Malvern Books, and we're thrilled to be hosting the book launch for Leticia Urieta's new book, Las Criaturas. And this reading will be featuring Sueitko and Leticia. Malvern Books is located at 613 West 29th Street here in Austin. We're happy to report that we have copies of Leticia's book in stock and ready to grace your home bookshelves. We're currently open for personal shopping appointments as well as curbside pickup. Check out our website at malvernbooks.com or give us a call for more information. So first of all, this evening, we're very thrilled to be hearing from Sueitko. Sueitko is an Indigenous Central American, two-spirit, queer, disabled, multidisciplinary creative dedicated to highlighting injustices toward the QTBIPOC community. Their upbringing sparked their written work and visual art that has been featured in multiple zines and anthologies across the nation. After earning Bachelors and Masters degrees in mental health focus, they have led multiple workshops on mental health awareness and injustices toward marginalized groups. Sueitko is a member of various local organizations and projects dedicated to empowering and enhancing our community. Sueitko?
Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here and supporting Leticia. We met at through Lenguas Loctex, a local group here. Some of these poems were inspired by workshops from them or inspired by people that I met through the workshops. So I will start my first one with, it's called Volume 20. And it's chapter 1, gratitude. This is part of a series that I started through the pandemic, kind of just, to keep us afloat and my experiences through the pandemic, interacting with people. So this one's called Gratitude. An acknowledgement page turned into a chapter dedicated to all the hidden figures. Mi abuela with the angelic wings and her hijos that brought me up, gently crafting rowboat after rowboat to aid me from my sinking ship, guiding my continued existence, answering cries for help, throwing a lifeline to a captain overboard, luchadores tag teaming, talking me off a ledge with no parachute, baiting me down from a tree with rope in hand, scraping melted soul off the bathroom floor, pouring purpose back into a fragmented face that once held a bouquet of joy, amor, tranquilidad, and passion, sewing back up this gaping hole, lacing hope into every stitch, convos with elders, building with community, letting myself be loved, breathing life back into the dying flames of my lost passions. So that was a bit of a short one. And I apologize, I didn't do any content warning, so I apologize if there were any triggers for those. I'll be more mindful for the next ones. So that one was derived from my interactions through, the pandemic. And I hope some of y'all could connect with that and know that y'all are not alone. If you had any downs and, embracing the ups and the people that, kind of got us through. I mean, I know we're still in the pandemic, but getting us through the pandemic, and, we're also here and reminding ourselves and other people reminding us that we are loved. This next one is called Monsters in the Night. Some content warnings, group home living, sexual assault, and child abuse. So this was a personal experience that I turned into like a mini story. This one's called Monsters in the Night. The nuns boom, lights out like wardens at a state prison. Orphans exchange solemn looks as they slide into their bunked tombs. Darkness fills the orphanage halls, making rooms cold and quiet like a midnight graveyard. The wicked full moon creeps from behind a dark cloud, transforming their beloved groundskeeper into a howling wolf. Minutes tick past as they wait in fear for the demon to make his presence. The door screeches open like a scream queen in a horror film. Their innocent souls sob to the death sentence of his boots marching through the aisle. As the ground's ghoul creeps closer to his night prey, they're each left paralyzed in their mummified sheets. The eldest feels his hellfire graze her cheek before slinking down below her. The bunk trembles with wrath as their sister's humanity is shredded to unrepairable shards. Seconds feel like hours as they each hold their breath in fear of being caught by the boogeyman under their covers. Their sister is released from her coffin, yet left like the undead of the vampire who cursed her. The door slams shut to muffled cries of shame and anguish that is their lullaby to slumbers of everlasting nightmares. So that one was a little heavy, and hopefully, you know, with the trigger warnings, y'all were able to stay safe and be safe. This next one is called La Do y el Puck. This one is a little more of an erotic tale. So just a little content warning. La Do y el Puck. Mis instintos ancestrales guiados al río, parched for sensual survival. Los mismos instintos that led you both to the same haven. Longing to quench a thirst, eyes lock across the bend, dangerously calling for the intertwinement of our flesh. Increasing with each heartbeat, my indigenous roots vibrate up my body, longing for both doe and buck. Scruff of a beard caressing the plumpest apple's bottom, lengua de fuego explorando through valleys, deep with ecstasy, every stitch caressed, every mark suckled, plummeting us into the deepest ocean, swimming with the tides, dipping with our trailing fingertips. The feel of her labios grinding my lower lip as my lengua slithers through the folds of her femininity, the voluptuous facial I knew I always needed. Now craving for more, yearning for the moist jugos de su fruta, warm embraces penetrating each other's existence, dientes grazing down the long grassy plains of my back and smooth curves of my vibrant hills, intertangled, climbing higher up the montaña's edge, reaching the top, lingering in the mystic energías que viven vibrando de la luna as we collapse and melt back into the tierra. So that was that one. And so if some of y'all haven't noticed, there's a lot of Spanglish in here. So I don't mind at all if anyone needs any vocabulary translations. Just let me know in the comments and I'll let you know after I'm done reading some of them. Sorry, I should have told you all that in the beginning. A lot of my stuff is very Spanglish, or a little bit of my Totopec language comes out in some of these pieces as well. So this next one is Bittersweet. I wrote this one from a workshop Lenguas Loquex held, and it was from a sensory activity actually that we did, and it kind of brought up these feelings and these thoughts and emotions. So this one is Bittersweet. Some content warning would be indigenous erasure and exploitation of folks in certain production industries. Bittersweet. Squares of dark chocolate wrapped in foil, layered with sea salt. Take a bite as it begins to melt, passing your lips. Sweet. Like the sugar canes our tíos brought home from the fields. Rayas de azúcar lining the ceramic coffee pots in our abuelos' hands. Like the sticky fresh fruit plucked from our community trees, lining the bellies of the young babes running in the market square. Teeth sink in another chocolate square, sliding the sea salt onto your tongue, lining the taste buds, bitter. Like the tears that stream down our tia's faces, primos come home missing limbs from the fields, stinging of raw hands reaching into a half-empty pocket, jingling 50 pesos exchanged for a 12-plus hour shift. red velvet cakes stained with the crimson blood spilt from swinging machetes on the job, chopping away at the souls of the diligent, sipping on the sweet abuelita chocolate. Piping hot, primo, let's spill the tea. Crafted with the bloodied hands of Nestle, you want to enjoy dessert, an edible delicacy, sugar, cocoa, and everything in between. Product demand for consumption, industries bringing pain to vulnerable communities, loved ones slaving in factories, dying in fields, brothers, aunts, cousins, friends, withering raisins beaten down from the blistering sun. Lind and Hershey's, Godiva and Gergadelli, names more valuable than Jose or Rosa, Carlos or Lupita, Juanita or Luis? Not to me. They rest in power when they should be living in peace. So each time you take a bite of that rich, sweet chocolate, remember the correct names and know their stories. So that one was a little heavy, a little culture, a little awareness for folks that were not aware of what the chocolate industry and other industries also exploiting, vulnerable communities. So this last one is a little, lighthearted. It's still a little awareness, but this is I call it a love letter to my best friend. It just came from a conversation that I've had with people about the way me and her relationship has kind of unfolded. A love letter to my best friend. Hey, sé que no te tengo que decir, pero I'll tell you anyway. I love you. Ayer, hoy, siempre. Our connection isn't friendship or sisterhood. It's something more that people say they can't place. Anything beyond platonic standards must be romantic for them because they lack the vocabulary in their colonized dictionaries. Like it has to be dressed in bows and ribbons to be understood with their rigid definitions. Like my love for you can't be as essential or more important than any love for or from a romantic partner. That being queer or actively poly automatically muddles what we have to be. This society tries to colonize our love as if it has to fit into one of their boxes to be valid. You are my person always and forever, above any them, above any her, above any him. Ayer, hoy, siempre. Con toda mi amor. Sueitko.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
Just amazing. I mean, so many of the lines in gratitude, rowboat after rowboat to aid me from my sinking ship. Oh my gosh. I mean, they're just amazing lines and so powerful about bittersweet with the chocolate because, I'd heard that before and I love chopping away at the souls of the innocent. And are these names, Ghirardelli, these names as important as the people who made it? And that was beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you all very much. If anyone is interested, I do sell the poems individually, either already printed or digital download if anyone's interested. I also dabble in visual art and I do a lot of commissioned work in art as well. So if anyone's interested in a little bit of both, my poetry, my short stories, or any of my art, I will put my social media handle in the chat. And if anyone has questions for me for the Q&A part, I'll be here as well. Thank you so much for listening to me and being open to embracing and listening to my stories. And I'm really excited to listen to Leticia and read from her book. I'm so excited. Thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you for that, Sueitko. Right, next we have Leticia. Leticia Urieta is a Tejana writer from Austin, Texas. She is a teaching artist in the greater Austin community and a freelance writer. She is a graduate of Agnes Scott College and holds an MFA in fiction writing from Texas State University. Her work appears or is forthcoming in Cleaver, Chicon Street Poets, Lumina, The Offing, Kweli Journal, Medium, Electric Lit, and others. Her chapbook, The Monster, is now out from LibroMobile Press. Tonight, we celebrate the publication of her hybrid collection, Las Criaturas, from FlowerSong Press. Leticia?
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being here to celebrate literature and words and stories, especially stories that I feel like are really needed. And thank you so much, Becky and Joe at Malvern, for making this night happen, and for supporting local writers. Thank you so much, Sueitko, who is a wonderful community member and poet and artist and creator. I just value everything that you're doing and all the, I mean, you were doing a lot of stuff. So I'm just saying, like, yes, check their work out, follow them on Instagram, doing lots of markets and cool things. And yeah, I'm just really excited to be sharing work from my collection. So I'll show that. This is Las Criaturas. A little bit of background about the book. I want to shout out FlowerSong Press and Edward Viduare, who took a chance on this book. It is a hybrid collection of poetry and prose, and therefore much more difficult to market and sell. And I just think FlowerSong is doing a lot of really wonderful things and publishing so many amazing poets and artists who are writing and kind of challenging boundaries. And this book kind of began for me in 2016. I was on my MFA program at Texas State University, and just having a really hard time navigating, institutional racism, microaggressions, sexism, right, and just kind of gender discrimination in general. And that combined with the 2016, Trump campaign and the rhetoric that was coming out of that was really kind of what set me on the path to start this work. And, during that second year of my MFA, that's the time in which you're supposed to be working on your final project for your thesis. And I was doing that. I was supposed to be writing a novel, but I was writing a lot of these pieces on the side as well, because it was what helped me kind of survive that time. And I was also, during that time, I was discovering that I had a pretty debilitating chronic illness, chronic pain condition that has also affected my life greatly. And so a lot of the pieces in here kind of span, stories that are speculative. There's some kind of horror elements in there. There's, plays on different traditional folk tales and stories. And that's kind of the way that I have navigated a lot of experiences and stories around the body, around sexual violence or other types of violence against women and folks who are feminized, like femme bodies as well. And so those are just some things that I'm kind of navigating in these pieces. So I'll definitely give content warnings for anything that comes up here, but I'm going to start with one of the short stories. And this one is called Sick Woman Travels to Distant Lands. And content warning for body horror. You peel back the curtain. A swath of sunlight rides into the room, and you remember what it is to step into the warmth of the sun without cringing, without fear of the flare across your eyes and then the pain. You have been in bed for 2 days. There is the hunger that rumbles through your body, the need to feed yourself, but then the churning inside your stomach starts and makes your body want to get rid of everything and become a blank slate. The world darkened when the virus spread. When you look outside, there are fewer kids playing in the street. People in masks rush by to get into their homes like they are re-entering a clean zone. Their homes the safest places to be. You've been home. Home is a sanctuary when the body is not, but even then it can become an island, impossible to swim away from when your pain becomes a contagion people don't want to see. On the night you come to me, It snows for the first time after 100 years. A portal opens. We meet on the snowy field at midnight, the winter moon full, casting light across the glistening whiteness. You walked here barefoot, peeling off your clothes until you arrived naked and cool in the crisp air. You don't recognize me at first, but with time you will. First, you bow in front of me on your knees, arms bent forward and head down so that your frizzy hair sweeps the snow, leaving traces. When I bow my head to you, you know that you can climb aboard my brown hard shell and lay across it like a starfish stuck to a rock. Your spine conforms to the curves of my shell. Your skin melts, becomes hot and sticky against me as we become one. All that we see are the tips of bare tree limbs and that full solstice moon watching us move slowly across the snow, back towards the portal to my world. Your body has melded so seamlessly with my shell that you feel to me like a second spine, a layer of protection from the monsters of your world that would cage me or tear my shell from the rest of my body to consume me. This is why you don't scream as we cross the threshold, even as your naked skin turns from translucent white to red and begins to slough off of you into crisp layers that burst like a pollen bomb. Your body is becoming something entirely different. I move slowly to take you away from yourself, back to my home where pain is a song, a story from another world. Thank you. So yeah, writing about chronic pain is fun. And I've been watching a lot of horror movies over the course of the pandemic with my sisters and my husband, and body horror is really interesting to me. It's something I want to continue to write more about because I think if you have a chronic illness or you're disabled, oftentimes body horror can be a really interesting mode for examining pain and just the really weird thing that it is to be inside a body. So yeah. Let's see. I think the next one I'm going to read is called Medusa Buys Eyeliner, which is a as a poem. And just, I mean, if you're familiar with the Medusa story, which I know not everyone is, it is a Greek myth, and it does reference sexual assault. So just content warning on that. Thank you. So Medusa Buys Eyeliner. Medusa picks out eyeliner at the pharmacy. She buys press-on nails that sparkle. She hasn't worn brightness on her body since she painted her mouth red. Her father smeared it across her face, paint that attracts unruly gods. Her Tinder profile reads, "I am a betrayed woman, not looking for fake friends. The kind that say they are saving you as they cut you down." Medusa won't wear white any longer. Her dress is stained from kneeling at the temple of strong women. Her date says he will meet her at a bar. She sits on the edge of the bed, swipes through profiles on her phone. The voices of her sisters echo, "Let them come to you." Before the date, the hairstylist tries to flat iron her hissing curls. They snap and bite, rearrange themselves in strike mode. She pays for this, wishing she trusted the best way to care for herself. Her cave has a reflecting pool, her only mirror. It is a myth that she cannot see herself. Her shaky hand runs the charcoal pencil around her lids, and she embraces the darkness. After their date, she lets him lie in her bed, staring up at the stalactites pointing down daggers. His hand rests on her soft belly. He begs her to look him in the eye. She lines his stone body with the others, a circle around the pool. The next message she gets is a tenderness. A girl asks for a picture. Medusa takes a selfie, lets camera become a mirror that won't break under her stare. So yeah, that's something that I've been interested in, and there are a couple of other pieces, some stories and poems in this that are kind of playing again with traditional stories from a few different cultures, some kind of well known and others not so much. So just something that has kind of been of interest to me, and I think we come back to these stories for a reason, and they often inform, you know, how we feel about and how we navigate you know, things in our own lives. Okay, I'm gonna read, let's see, I'm trying to keep myself on task here. That's why we have sticky notes. I'm gonna read this next one, and it's called Cancer Meets Leo Rising. I stand in the rain and read Wolf his horoscope from the newspaper that is already a week late. He will not remember. There is something useful about seeing your past with clarity, a reverse fortune teller. He howls at my feet in recognition of the brush unturned, the places he never looked for the pack of cubs he came from. Wolf pants, puts his head on my knee. The rain sings against our fur. Wet skin waiting for the breaking storm. Wolf is a Leo, galloping here in bold anger and finding relief that for once he can roll onto his back and rest. He doesn't have to save someone. He doesn't know I was waiting to see my horoscope come true, that I was told to seek my lover in the woods on a rainy morning. The air after rain is insects buzzing home. I crumple the wet horoscope, let Wolf shake off his body and trudge off to a woodland floor waiting for his feet. Thirsty earthworms wriggle over my toes. Aphids come to nest in my hair. I lay in the wet grass, imagine the whispers passing through the roots beneath me. Thank you. Becky, how are we doing on time?
I think we're still good. I think you
Okay.
have, yeah, you're doing fine.
Okay, cool. I'll probably read one or two more then. Awesome. This one is kind of a weird poem that I just think is kind of funny. I was talking about this with some students in a class at Concordia, and I attended a workshop with Winter Tangerine, which if you've never taken any of their workshops or read from them, I just think they're doing some really wonderful things with poetry and genre. But one of the prompts was write a poem or a story from a creature that is trapped inside the belly of a story. And instead of doing that, I wrote from the point of view of the story. So that's what this is. And it kind of turned into something. So this is called A Cautionary Tale. I'll drink some water before I do that. A Cautionary Tale. There is a rattling in the hollow of my belly from the creature I swallowed, who keeps falling and falling inside me, screaming a name I don't know. The creature is running up my spine and flipping back over, filling my belly with burning. I know that they are choosing to scream and choosing to fall. This is the only story that they know. I swallow a match and hope that the swirling chasm of my belly does not extinguish the light as I sit in the cave to eat my dinner, and the creature inside me sits in the cave of me and reaches for the falling match, a torch in their world that wouldn't recognize the carvings on the walls of my belly from the other creatures that have fallen in and can't find their way out of the story in my belly. They make up stories just to calm themselves at night around their campfires with their children, to tell them a tale of being stuck in the belly of a whale of a story that cares so little for them as long as they keep feeding me. If this is a story they want to tell, and it will nourish my bones and keep me dry, then I let them yell and flip inside me. They would be nothing. So long as they know that without my body forged word by word, they would be nothing. And who came first, the light or the dark? Did the dark creep in before the light decided it needed to shine? And would there be a dark without a light, or a light without a dark? This endless spinning made the universe explode, crash together to form a singular place where creatures in my belly could feel safe, that they are trapped in the spinning smoke of a story. Thanks. Okay. Let's see here. I think I had one more I was going to read. And so probably one or two more. Like I said, this is a mixture of poems and short stories. So yeah, I'll read this short story, and it's called Legacy. She was born with a supernova inside her face. She cried inconsolably when it would shine and surge inside her cheeks, but it wasn't until she turned 25 that her grandmother sat her down and explained that this star mass was smuggled in all of the bodies of her foremothers when their galaxy was destroyed, and this was her legacy to bear. Some days the star mass glowed consistently, burning through her face. When it grew and glowed, it set off explosions. On those days, she couldn't go to work, couldn't even leave her bed. The pain scorched through her. Her grandmother always told her that this was a privilege to carry this piece of their past inside her body, but never told her about the unbearable bouts of pain. She never told her how to manage the pain besides with cold compresses of lavender oil and a dark room where the fiery glow of her face would light the darkness. She would burn so bright that she would float off the bed, levitating with the cosmos inside her. Over time, the pain became too much to bear. She couldn't live her life this way. Friends who once gravitated around her were avoiding her calls. She used to go out dancing with them, but now she was confined to her home and there was never a day without pain. Her doctors proposed an operation. When the surgeon cut into her face and scooped out the light, it fell into their hand as a heavy, smooth piece of shungite, a black star mass like a hardened tumor. She carried the heaviness on her neck, on her necklace around her neck, and strangers reached for the smooth black stone and exclaimed how beautiful it was. Each time she touched it and touched the cold surface, she remembered the cost of relief. I think so. So yeah, a lot of work about the body, and I definitely felt like I was inspired for a lot of these pieces by other writers who were kind of bending genres and working in, kind of bringing in like sci-fi elements to their work and kind of, horror elements to their work. And it's something I think I'm just continuously drawn to. Yeah. Thank you, Sueitko. I appreciate that. Yeah. So that's something that I think is a lens that I probably will come back to again and again. I'll read this last one, if that's okay, Becky, or yeah. Okay, cool. And this was actually kind of cool. It's called The Hungry Earth. And a few years ago, I was invited to participate in a kind of art show that had us, so like there was a person who would create a painting, and then they had a poet respond, I was one of the poets, and then someone else would create an art based on my interpretation. So it was almost like this artistic phone, or game of phone tag, right? Or phone, what am I thinking of? Telephone? Yeah, something like that. And so I had my poem interpreted in dance, which was beautiful and amazing. So yeah, this is called The Hungry Earth, based on a painting by Tom Basson, which was entitled Kali in the Kitchen. The hungry earth opens. Her howling voice pulls you in. You shouldn't be afraid. fall back into her arms. Your throat is a cave full to the top with her care. Where darkness falls into swirling sky, she cradles you, eternal mother, to her purging fire. Peels your pain back from your bones, she flays you open, inside out, babe. Puts you back inside, born again from her many mouths. She knows when to push air past stubborn lips. She washes you, wipes the blood from your eyes, breathes love into your name. I think I'll stop there. Thanks, y'all.
It was amazing, just amazing. So many of these, like legacy, that when you said at the very end, when it said the cost of relief, and it was just like what she lost and what she lost because she had to lose it because she couldn't stand it anymore. It's just, that was so beautiful, really something. And I really enjoyed that Medusa buys eyeliner, and when that line, her hissing curls, and so you she's at the hairdresser, and then you said she paid for this, and I think of all the things we put ourselves through sometimes, and the you know, all the torture we go through for beauty over time. It was interesting to me, but I love that line, her hissing curls. That was wonderful. So we are able to take questions from the audience if they would like to enter them in the chat. We're happy to do that. Sueitko, do you have a question that you would like to pose to Leticia, or vice versa?
I know that they're, okay, there you go.
Are they having?
My video is frozen, but
Oh.
I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I just wanted Leticia to share. Could you share with us like where you teach or where people can learn from you and your amazing brain, and how to, you know, bring about, you know, personal stories or interactions into writing form?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you so much. So my main position right now is with Austin Batcave. I work with them as the regional program manager. So we provide free creative writing programs to youth and students in the greater Austin area. I also co-run Barrio Writers, which is another organization with my good friend Maria-Elise, who's here tonight, and they and I run the kind of summer workshops and other events. Thank you. Yeah. That we provide for youth in the community in Austin and Pflugerville. And then I also do have adult workshops that I lead. I'm hoping to do one that actually, so just so y'all know, one of the things that I was really happy to be able to do was to include some writing prompts and resources at the back of the book. And I'm hoping to teach a workshop in the spring based on that a couple of different times, called Writing the Weird. So we can write weird stuff. And then I have another workshop probably through Austin Batcave that I teach in the spring called Reconnecting to the Body, which I know some folks who are here in the Zoom room have participated in, which kind of helps to talk about and navigate writing about the body and trauma, disability, chronic illness, etc., and how, you know, we can navigate those things. So yeah, that's kind of my answer. I might pose a similar question to you, Sueitko. Yeah, what are some of the other community-based, you know, things that you're doing? I know you have your markets and you know, art that you're creating and all that stuff. But yeah, do you want to talk about anything else that you're doing?
Yeah, I'm a part of some other organizations as well. I like to give back to community and make sure I'm staying connected, you know, with people. I'm a part of Women of Color Collective, And we do monthly socials, and we do a lot of like business building and creative building as well. So if you're a creative and you want to shout out, or you're looking for support in, a professional way, we do that. I'm part of the Winter Storm project. It's an anthology, and we're looking for writers, performers, graphic artists, any kind of creative thing that you got going on, just to kind of share about your experience with the winter storm, or if you've heard other people's experiences and they're comfortable sharing. We just want to put it on the map. We want something concrete, something out there, like this did happen. I feel like the winter storm is still affecting people to this day. And I feel like a lot of stories weren't heard. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, that passed, move on to the next thing, especially with, 2020 being the dumpster fire that it was. And then 2021 kind of just, doing the encore thing with it. I feel like a lot of people forgot about it. So it's kind of they're doing workshops and spaces for people to kind of connect and heal from the storm, but also share their story and also do it in a creative way as well. English and Spanish. So if anyone, is interested, or anyone that's interested, I'm one of the editors for that anthology there. And I try my best to host monthly open mics, just to kind of get people who, I feel like I get nervous sometimes. So I know, and I'm pretty extroverted compared to a lot of my friends. So I think sometimes people get nervous, but if they feel like they're in a safe space, to share their artwork, because there's a lot of good creatives, right? But society kind of has labeled what is a creative, who is a writer, who is an artist, things like that. So kind of trying to break those barriers and just have a safe space. They've mostly been virtual, but having a safe space for people to just share what it is that they do, and kind of, if people are looking for followers, so they can, share about their book or their performance piece or their paintings, things like that. So that's a little bit of what I do. I also do Totopec Tuesdays, which, if for those that are unaware, I grew up in the Totopec community, which is southern coastal Mexico, and kind of bleed into Guatemala. And I just teach about my language. I have conversations with my apa. I finally got my sister on board so we could have conversations about what it was like growing up there. My ama, too, got her on board to talk about what it was like living on Indigenous land as a non-Indigenous person. And I just teach, about my culture on Tuesdays. If anyone is interested in learning about a little bit about the Totopec community on Tuesdays, I kind of do that. So yeah, it's a little bit of everything. I'm also a mental health professional, for people who are not aware. So I do a lot of stuff. And yeah. Thank you for that question.
That's amazing. You make me tired just hearing. I feel like I'm such a slacker. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, it's like, it is amazing. It's wonderful. Oh, many things you do. It's great. Well, you all are both so impressive. It's been wonderful hearing your readings and listening to you and talking about all the things that you're involved in. One thing that I was thinking of is just a question. It may be obvious to most people, but I was so impressed, Sueitko, by La Doi El Buck. And it was a beautifully sensual poem, and such a lovely intertwining of the Spanish and the English. And it seemed like you just picked the right phrases to put in Spanish. It just seemed to flow so well. And I'm not very good at Spanish. I have to take it real slow so I can figure out what it is. But it was the beauty of the language and hearing how it all went together. So when you write the poetry that way, you joked about how it's your normal way of Spanglish. And when you're writing the poetry, does it just come to you that when you're writing it out, and you just write it in Spanish because it fits perfectly in the flow, or do you go back and think, I think this would be better in Spanish, or this would be better in English?
So some of my writing comes from workshops, and some of my writing comes from conversations that I have with someone. As a mental health professional, I've learned, and having my own therapy, journaling has helped me process and has helped me heal so much. And some of my pieces, I kind of just turn a journal prompt into a poem. And the thing is, growing up where I did, we spoke Totopec. It's an indigenous language. I didn't learn Spanish until I was 6, and I didn't learn English till I was like 12. So my mind goes back and forth all the time. I'm constantly translating in my head. And like, it's funny because people ask me, well, when you're thinking about this, in what language do you think? And I'm like, this language. And then if you're thinking about numbers, what language do you think in? I'm like, this one. They're like, but if you're thinking about nature, what language so like that. So when it comes to certain topics that are like intersectional, my mind kind of just goes back and forth between the words. So I kind of write it down like that. My journal entries, I just write, I write in all 3 languages. It just kind of comes out that way. So actually, a lot of my poems that are like in English and Spanish, I've actually translated from the Totopec words into the English and Spanish. So when people are listening to them or reading them, they understand. Some of my newer stuff, I've kind of just been like, I'm just going to leave the Totopec word in there. If people want to know, they can ask. So I've kind of been more raw when it comes to that. I've just let myself not translate it. And people, and then if people need a bank, I just kind of give it to them, like a word bank later. But yeah, it kind of just comes naturally, the way my brain is constantly translating in the 3 languages.
That's very interesting. Thank you. Now, Leticia, you were talking and sharing about your own chronic pain and what you're having to deal with and all this, and how it has actually really affected your writing. Is this something that is the chronic pain fairly recent, and this has really been a recent addition to your writing, or did your writing precede the chronic pain, or did it kind of come about at the same time?
I mean, I've been writing since I was very little, so I feel like it's been more. So in 2016, that was kind of when it started to affect me the most. I have a chronic headache condition that can be pretty debilitating sometimes. And then just like a lot of folks with chronic illness, you have a lot of other health issues that come and go here and there. But yeah, I think I've only really started writing specifically about that maybe within the last like 2 years. I think it's been a challenge. I think it's really hard to write vulnerably about the body and about the stuff that's happening to the body, especially if your body has like historically been a space where violence is enacted against it, right? Either sexual violence, medical violence, like, medical gender discrimination, right? And so that's something I think I'm always kind of trying to work in there, is like, how are we navigating, and obviously my experience, like, how am I navigating kind of just inhabiting a body sometimes? What does a liberated body, feel like, look like for me? How are people reacting to, violence is done to the body? And so there is a piece in here called La Mujer Alacrán, which is the scorpion woman. And just to kind of give like a little bit of background on it, it is essentially about a person who is sexually assaulted and turns into a literal scorpion. So like as a form of protection for their body. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about when I say, like, I like bringing in kind of creature horror, body horror, and kind of some of those like weirder, more speculative elements to explore how it is that we sometimes overcome what is considered the monstrous, right? Or evil, or, you know, these kinds of creatures that might be labeled monstrous, in as a form of protection for ourselves, as a form of healing.
Yes, and that makes sense. I'll be interested. Is that the cover picture?
Yeah, it's inspired by that. I worked with a local artist, Elena Almeida, and this was kind of a departure for her, I think. But yeah, she designed this, I think, inspired probably by that particular story. Yeah.
Interesting. That's great. Well, it's a striking cover. It's a really good cover, I think. Very striking. So does anyone else, I don't know if anyone else has any other questions, but if we don't at this point, I think it's been a wonderful evening. Thank you both so much for being here. And Leticia, big congratulations to you for this wonderful collection. And thank you to FlowerSong Press for publishing it. And Sueitko, we look forward to hearing more about your work as you get moving on that and get those actually into a chapbook or anywhere else. We're so happy to see it. And thank you all for joining us tonight. We've really appreciated having you here. Again, we do have Leticia's book at Malvern Books. If you'd like to give us a call or come by, we're happy to see you. And all the best to you. I hope everyone has a joyful Thanksgiving and is able to spend that with your family and friends. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night.